Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover here today. So before we dive into it, if you end up enjoying the video or finding it informative, be sure to leave it a like. And if you are new here to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. We're starting here with a bunch of PS5 Pro leaks. Now obviously the embargo for the unboxings as well as the full reviews are not going live until tomorrow and the 6th respectively. So naturally some people were able to get their hands on the PS5 Pro early, and we're learning a bunch of new information about it. We're starting here with the full specifications of the PS5 Pro finally being revealed. Over on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, it says the PS5 Pro has a power supply rated for 390 watts, 2 gigabytes of extra DDR5 RAM, and the GPU is 16.7 T-flops. The reason why they're mentioning the power supply is because they're trying to figure out what the SoC is. Is it 6 nanometer? Is it 4 nanometer? And the reason why this is relevant is because the smaller the SoC is, the more efficient it will be with distributing power with less heat, which is obviously very important. And so I do want to throw this out here that the first unofficial PS5 Pro teardown actually just occurred with a Brazilian YouTuber, and based off of their teardown, it does seem that the PS5 Pro, its SoC is 4 nanometers, and so this is actually very good. This means the PS5 Pro is going to be highly efficient, significantly more efficient than what we've seen with the base PS5, where when it comes to the amount of power it's going to be able to draw and then also keep the heat kind of under control or just have less heat overall, this is what we're going to get. But also, it says here in terms of the extra DDR5, it's kind of what we expected, but we didn't have any confirmation of this. It's essentially what the PS4 Pro did. It added extra dedicated memory to swap out non-gaming apps, which opens up additional VRAM for developers to use. And then they say here on the teraflop side, it looks like Sony is not using the dual precision T-flops number in their documentation and marketing like we assumed they would and what previously leaked. They're just putting the traditional teraflop number in the manual. With the teraflop number, that would mean the GPU runs at an approximate peak clock speed of 2.18 gigahertz. And so it's worth noting when it comes to calculating the teraflop number, there are basically two different ways to go about it. Depending on which method you use, you're either going to get about 31 teraflops or 16 teraflops. And so this is what Sony opted to go with, 16 teraflops versus the 10 teraflops with the base PS5. So that should kind of give you an idea of just how much more powerful the Pro is compared to the base model. But on top of that, we have more information that's leaking about the PS5 Pro. And this one, I think a lot of people are going to be very much interested in. The PS5 Pro could seriously improve the quality of your PS4 games. This is being reported by Push Square. They say a leaked image from the PS5 Pro settings says the toggle named Enhance Image Quality for PS4 games claims it can, quote, improve the image quality of PS4 games to enjoy higher quality for some games, end quote. It does not clarify exactly what it's doing to achieve this, but we wonder if it's using PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution to upscale games running at a lower resolution. Sony did touch on this a little bit in the PlayStation blog earlier this year, but it has yet to elaborate. Enhanced image quality for PS4 games is also available to improve the resolution on select PS4 games. That's what they said in the blog post. So naturally, the next thing that happened after this setting leaked out on the PS5 Pro, people started testing some PS4 games, but the one that they tested first, seemingly, and started putting out some comparison images of is Bloodborne. And what's interesting is the resolution of Bloodborne does seem to have been increased when you're running it on the PS5 Pro. There's something going on to essentially make the image clearer and sharper and just overall better compared to the base PS5 and certainly the PS4 Pro and base PS4. So this is something that's really interesting. It seems like whatever's going on inside of the PS5 Pro, if you're planning on playing any PS4 games, doesn't, you know, there's no confirmation it's going to work on every game, but it just seems like there are a lot of PS4 games that are just naturally going to, I guess, be improved while running on the Pro. And it will be interesting to see if Sony kind of comes out and explains what exactly is going on under the hood to make this happen. But I imagine that there's going to be a lot of different games that people are going to be testing to see, which games are going to get a resolution bump, which games are going to run better and have a higher frame rate. So like with Bloodborne, you're not going to get a higher frame rate because it is capped at 30. It is kind of locked at 30, and there's really nothing the Pro can do about that. But just the fact that it's improving the image quality with nothing being done, I would say is a pretty cool feature that the PS5 Pro is offering here. But there's also something else I want to mention. But people who have gotten their hands on the PS5 Pro early have also been testing out some of the PS5 Pro enhanced games, such as Spider-Man 2 and Alan Wake. And, it's interesting to look at these images because they're basically showing off the ray tracing. And all I'm going to say is that if you've seen these images, they are incredibly impressive looking. I'm assuming they're running at the 30 FPS modes though. But I mean, the ray tracing is no joke. It looks very, very, very good and very impressive. Like, people were kind of shocked at what they were seeing with these screenshots. And so it's going to be very interesting in the next couple of days to see these comparisons that come out. But even as somebody who doesn't really care that much about ray tracing, when I saw these images, I was like, wow, okay, yeah, that's pretty impressive. So I imagine over the next couple of days, we're going to see more and more stuff leak about the PS5 Pro. But I do want to mention one last thing about the PS5 Pro before we move on, and that is that the list of confirmed PS5 Pro enhanced games has now grown to a total of 90. So every day we're just getting confirmation that more games are going to be getting enhanced, games that are already released, games that are going to be coming in the next year or so. And so again, just to compare for reference, the PS4 Pro had about 40 games that were enhanced at its launch. So with the PS5 Pro, we're already sitting at 90 games, even just a couple days before this console officially launches. So as of right now, I would say the PS5 Pro is in a much, much stronger position at its launch than the PS4 Pro was. And it's interesting to think that because people seemed to really enjoy the PS4 Pro launch, and there seems to be a lot more skepticism about the PS5 Pro launch. But it seems like as we're getting closer to it officially coming out, I'm noticing there's more excitement, there's more interest. I've actually seen quite a few people online, interestingly enough, who, their original stance was they're not buying one, they're not interested, but then they basically came out and said, actually, you know what, I'm going to buy one. Maybe it's the FOMO, I don't know. Maybe they were convinced by some things that they've seen since the initial reveal, but I am seeing that starting to kind of make its way around the internet. But I also want to say here, based off of some of the things that are leaking out here, it does seem like Sony may have purposely somewhat undersold the PS5 Pro, and maybe the reviews that we're going to get are actually going to be very positive, because some of the things that are starting to float around out there right now with like the PS4 image enhancement and just how impressive the ray tracing looks and how impressive these upgrades actually look, with people who are getting their hands on it, there is a chance that Sony maybe did purposely try to undersell this, so that way by the time it actually is out and people are reviewing it, tearing it down and going over all the nitty-gritty details, people end up being a little bit more surprised and impressed with what they actually did here. It'll be interesting to see if that's how this plays out. But the final topic here is a shift away from the PS5 Pro, but talking about a game that's absolutely going to be relevant for the PS5 Pro. Apparently, an ex-GTA 6 dev says the game's realism will blow people away. A former GTA 6 developer has revealed why he's excited about the new Grand Theft Auto and how the game's realism will blow people away. Ben Hinchliffe has a long history at Rockstar Games working on LA Noire, GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, and GTA 6 before leaving the studio in 2021. In an interview with GTA 6 O'Clock, Hinchcliffe touched on GTA 6 and explained what he suspects Rockstar is up to ahead of the game's fall 2025 release window. According to the dev, the team is likely focused on bug fixing and ensuring the game works. As an example, he mentioned how some players try to mess around and complete missions differently, something that the devs need to account for. He was also asked what he's most excited about when it comes to GTA 6's release, now that he's on the outside looking in. Quote, I think seeing where it was when I left and playing that final version and how much, if anything, has changed, how much things have changed. I was privy to a lot of new things, content and story and stuff. I just love to know how that's evolved and how it's come out the other end, end quote. When asked if players will be surprised by what Rockstar is going to unveil, Hinchcliffe indicated that the realism in particular will set it apart. Quote, you only have to look at how every game Rockstar has done has evolved in some way. You could argue that every element of the game moves forward in terms of feeling more realistic and people acting and behaving more realistic as every game is iterated through each cycle. It will blow people away. It will sell an absolute ton as it always does. People have been talking about it for ages after GTA 5, and I'm really excited for people to get their hands on it and play it, just because I think Rockstar has raised the bar again, just like they always do. End quote. So I thought that this was worth covering because, you know, we're talking all about the PS5 Pro, but one of the biggest things that people are waiting for to see on the PS5 Pro is GTA 6. Obviously, generally speaking, the expectations for GTA 6 are through the roof, but I kind of like what this dev is saying here because he seems to be indicating that one of the more impressive things we're going to see with GTA 6 is the realism in terms of AI and the behavior, right? And I think that is, you know, what a lot of people are expecting, but yeah, I mean, it's exciting, right? We are still a little ways away from GTA 6, but considering how long we've been waiting and with the launch of the PS5 Pro, it's just, I think the next year is going to be a really exciting time, and it's going to be very interesting to see what Rockstar does with the PS5 Pro and this game. So there you go. Just wanted to go over that with you guys, but that's going to do it for the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.